Welcome to the She Heals the World talk show with Dr.S, the place to hear stories of heart-driven women creatively living free. Our episodes highlight conversations and insights that support the values of self-care, creative and personal freedom, slower living, happiness, health, and wellness to help you live your absolute best life. To be a part of the movement and join the conversation, step inside our free Facebook group, She Heals the World, and say hello. It brings me great joy to bring you our next episode.
Hey everybody, welcome to the She Heals the World talk show today. I'm so excited and thankful that you're listening. Today I have a guest originally from Romania, Rodica Godlewski, who lives in Rochester Hills, Michigan now with her husband Rick and her son Joshua, as well as two cats, Mumu and Alistair, and two hens, Chloe and Sage, has come to the show to share her work found on Cooking is My Inheritance, where she gives everybody a taste of her family. And so Rodica shares amazing recipes and lots of cooking tips. And she's come on the show not just to talk about her journey, but to also give you guys some cooking tips as well and some secret recipes. And so I'm really happy to have her today. Welcome to the show, lovely.
Hi, Sophia. Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm really, really excited. So why don't you just kind of give the audience and everybody listening a little bit more information about how you got started with this work?
Well, it started not so long ago. I always liked to cook. Cooking and baking, I learned from my mother and my grandmother. Starting a blog and starting an Instagram page and starting photography has been only recent, probably 3 years ago. And I cannot really tell you how it started per se. It's just that one day I had more time and I went and picked up a professional camera and I started taking pictures of what I was cooking every day. So I guess that's how it all started.
So when you were in Romania, what did you think you were going to be doing when you grew up?
Well, when I was in Romania, I was an English teacher.
Wow.
Nothing related to food. So I went to college and got my major in English.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did.
So, and you also do quite a bit of traveling. So tell me a little bit more about your travels.
I do. That also started a few years ago when I first went to England and I fell in love with England. And ever since, I made a lot of friends through Instagram, actually. And now I'm visiting them every year. And one in particular, it's my friend Louise Robinson that I stay with. And she's awesome. And I met her through Instagram.
Wow. So I hope people are listening. Like, if you're in a business by yourself and you're wondering how to network and meet other people, use your Instagram page and connect with people who have the same interests and then travel and hang out with them. That is so fun.
Most definitely. Yeah, that's the thing to do these days. I mean, the way to meet people is way different than it was back in the day.
Exactly.
And I'm happy about that.
It makes it easier. Totally.
It definitely does. Yes.
So what has been your biggest win so far in your work?
My biggest win would have to be building up this business and building up my followers and building up an Instagram page. I would have never have dreamt of that. And I am still amazed that and humbled that my work is getting that many followers, given, as I said, I'm like a self-taught photographer and I don't know a lot about photography and styling. And I really appreciate that.
Wow. Well, I am super hungry. And so that means I'd love to jump to some of your recipes that you have to share with everybody. And I'm going to be taking some notes so that I can get in the kitchen and cook something up too. So what do you got for us?
Well, first of all, I was thinking of French crepes, and who doesn't like crepes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I make them often for my family, for my son in particular. He's a big fan of Nutella. And I grew up with crepes. My mom would make them all the time, and I make them for him at the same time right now. And they're very easy to make. Actually, it took me a while to post a recipe for them because the way I cook and the way I grew up seeing my mom and my grandmother cook is by just like eyeing everything. They wouldn't measure the ingredients, they would just putting everything in there and making something delicious. So yeah, and believe it or not, that's how they do it, and that's how I pretty much do it. But yeah, I managed to come up with the recipe, and it involves flour, and I added some banana flour to mine, which makes them more interesting and
Ooh,
more delicious.
I've never had banana
Also,
flour before. I didn't even know you could get banana flour. So where would you get that from? Is that a Whole Foods thing or?
yeah, it's a Whole Foods if you're in, or if you're in the US. I believe I got it from TJ Maxx.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so I always buy like weird or like unseen ingredients and I try to incorporate them in my cooking.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, and also I add a touch of baking powder because that makes them more puffy. Baking powder would be something they usually do not add to French crepes. Um, you mostly add it to pancakes, but I like to add a little touch of it because it makes them, as I said, puffier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, I add eggs and I take them from my hands straight from the yard.
Nice. Mhm.
A bit of sugar, vanilla bean, butter, milk, and you would also need some cooking spray for the pan. They're, as I said, very easy to make. You just mix everything, make like kind of a sour cream consistency dough,
Mhm.
and then you fry them in the pan on each side for a minute or so. Um, the fillings of my choice, if they were for me, it would be fig jam,
Mm.
and you really gotta try them with fig jam. They're amazing.
Wow. It sounds good. So when you put these crepes in the pan, you make them like pancakes. You don't have to roll dough or anything. You just pour it in, and I guess you use a really flat spatula so that when you flip them, they stay flat.
Well, yeah, I mean the consistency has to be right. It cannot be like too runny or too sticky, I guess.
Okay.
So you gotta have the right consistency, and then I always like to spray my pan before with cooking spray, and
Mhm.
that's gonna. And also a good tip would be to use a non-stick pan because that's gonna prevent them from sticking.
Okay. Got it.
So you would just put them in the pan with a ladle, and then leave them until they're getting like amber brown, and then flip them on the other side.
Beautiful. I cannot wait to have some crepes for breakfast.
Oh, I know. That's the dream. I'm telling you. Another recipe that I can say I make it literally every week. It involves like different toppings, and it could be like either savory or sweet, and that's the scones.
Mm.
Ever since I made my first batch of scones, I fell in love with it, and as I make them every week, sometimes every day, and yeah, I know it's bad.
You are going to be horrible for my diet, but that's okay.
Oh, I know.
Little
I'm
treat.
trying to work it out every day too, but I cannot help it. Yeah, so scones, which I believe they're very common in England, at least that's where I had them first.
Mhm.
They're a kind of biscuit, kind of equivalent to the American biscuit. Um, and they involve 2 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons baking powder, and I usually add like the zest of a lemon or a lime because that gives it that spice or that different and at the same time refreshing taste.
Mm.
You do want to add a pinch of salt. And I also put in half a cup of sugar, a stick or 8 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and as much milk as you need just to keep the dough together.
Okay.
And it's as easy as that.
Mm.
And if you want to have different flavors, I either like add some berries in or chocolate chips, or if you want to do them with different toppings, my favorite one would be apple slices.
That's new. I've never had a scone with apple slices on top.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the best cone you ever have.
So when you slice that, so you slice the apple, do you caramelize the apples first, like in a pan, and then put them on top, or you just slice them, put them on top, and bake them with the scone?
No, it's what I do is just I make the scones, I slice them, and then I brush them with a little egg white.
Mm.
And then I would slice the apple separately, and I just arrange it in a circular pattern and dust it with a bit of cinnamon and sugar, or you can add vanilla sugar, which is even better.
Mm.
And that's about it. You just put them in the oven. And what's important here is the temperature. I put them at 400 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
And they're literally done in about 10 to 15 minutes.
Wow.
So if you have some unannounced guests and you want to serve some dessert, especially in the morning when you don't want to wake up that early, this would be the go-to.
Beautiful. So I have a totally unrelated question to these scones, and that is the baking pans. So I don't know about you, but whenever I bake, I try to spray the baking pan with some kind of oil. And my pans are always so hard to clean. And so I find myself after like a month just going and buying another baking pan and just
Oh, I know. I know the struggle.
so, do you have any tips with that? I mean, it is like a baking pan house over here.
Well, I definitely do. And it's probably way easier or way cheaper just to line them with parchment paper. And that's what I do.
Super simple.
Yeah, parchment paper is my best friend in the kitchen. I could give you a really good tip, and I don't know if everyone has Kroger around. Yeah, so where I live, they have this parchment paper sheets that are already cut. So I usually get them from Kroger, and they're the same size of your usual baking sheet.
Mm,
So
just use
it's very easy because you don't even have to cut them to match your pan. You
wow,
just pull them off from the box, line the baking sheet with them, and then you put stuff on top.
and it's done. And it's done. So
Yeah,
let
and
me
it's
just say
done.
too, like you could also probably get those off of Amazon. Like if you Google like pre-cut parchment paper. Um,
I'm sure you can. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
sure you can.
So at least if they don't have a store that's local, then they can totally get it online. So thank you for that tip. You've probably saved my wallet a lot of dollars.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, definitely try them, and I'm telling you, you're gonna love it.
Yeah, yeah. Nice. Well, I know you have one more. So give us the goods with this next one. So we have scones, we have crepes, both really delicious, savory, yummy, filling breakfast or snack foods. And what's the last one you have for us?
Well, I was thinking of Romanian summer soup
Mm.
because it's July right now, so everyone needs something refreshing, right?
Hmm.
And when I posted this recipe, everybody on Instagram was amazed because they never thought of making a cherry soup.
Wow.
Yeah, And this soup I grew up with, and both my mom and my grandmother would make it, and it's pretty much a tradition at our house. Um, we usually make it with sour cherries, but I wasn't able to find any sour cherries in Michigan, believe it or not. This is also an easy recipe, and what you do, this soup is usually eaten cold, and that's why it's perfect for summers. You could you could start a lunch with it, or you could end the lunch with it, or it could go both as a starter if you use it as a soup, or it could go as a dessert if you use it as a sauce.
Nice.
So it could play either way. And this soup, what involves is water. I added 3 cups, then 2 cups of cherries, and you want to depeat those before. Um, I also added vanilla bean, 6 cloves, 1 whole nutmeg. I put some slices of orange rind in there, although we don't usually do that in Romania. And yet again, that gives it more flavor. Also a pinch of salt, pinch of ground cinnamon. I added some brown sugar in there, some vanilla sugar, and how you make the roux for it, it's with whipped cream, cornstarch, and lemon juice.
Wow. Wow. So are you blending this to make it into the soup or boiling it
No,
down, chilling it?
I was actually just boiling them, and I'm using the cloves, the vanilla, the nutmeg, and the orange slices just at the beginning to infuse flavor into the soup. And then it's up to you if you want to leave them in there, which I did, or you can remove them and then add the rest of the ingredients.
That sounds so good. And it's so interesting you brought up this cherry soup because I was just at Whole Foods yesterday and I picked up strawberry cherries. And I never even knew we made strawberry cherries. I'm like, what is?
Oh, never heard of that.
Yeah, you haven't. They are so sweet and so good. Like I just had them all for dessert because I was like, I need to get my dessert life better. I'm like having chocolate every night and all kinds of stuff. And so
Oh, I know.
tried some
So
cherries.
do they look like cherries or they look like strawberries?
They look like cherries and they are cherries, but they're very, very deep red. And they're really, really sweet. And so I like put the cherry in my mouth and then take the pit out. And I'm quite
Oh,
sure I
yeah,
can't
that's the
do
way
that
to
for
do
deep
it.
pitting for a soup. So what is your best way to de-pit a cherry for the soup?
Well, actually, I know they have depeaters, which you can buy, and it's probably easier. I just do it by hand with a
Okay.
knife.
Perfect. My kind of gal. That's how I cut mangoes up. I just like take it with a knife, deep hit it. And mangoes are some of the hardest things to deep hit, but I just
Oh, it
take it
is.
and make it work. So beautiful. That cherry soup sounds so refreshing. And now that I have these strawberry cherries, it looks like I have something to do with them other than eat them for dessert. So
Yeah. Yeah,
love.
you should definitely try it because I'm telling you that's my favorite in the summer.
And it originated in Romania, but that's not how they make it, right?
I'm not sure if it originated in Romania. Maybe like a lot of other recipes that we have in Romania. I believe it's a Eastern European kind of soup.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, that's what I grew up on in the summers.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your kitchen with us. So, if you could give your 10-year younger self any piece of advice now that you know so much about cooking and business and growing and everything, what would you tell your 10-year younger self?
I would say, first of all, believe you can do anything you set your mind to.
Mm.
And second of all, just be open to try whatever life throws at you, and just be open to experiment and be open to learn new things and be open to fight for what you want.
Thank you so much, Rodica, for coming and joining us and sharing so much of your life and your work with us. Where can our audience find you?
Thank you for so much for having me, first of all, and I really enjoyed our talk and hope other people get inspired by my story. And where you could find me as probably the best place would be Instagram, since I'm there every day. And my account is Rodica _Godlewski. And you can also find me on my website, which is www.cookingismyinheritance.com. Or you could find me at my personal email, which is godlewskirodica@gmail.com.
Oh, beautiful. Thanks again, Rodica, and I can't wait to have you back on the show.
I really appreciate it. It was a pleasure.
Well, there you have it. Thanks so much for listening to the show today. And as always, for more resources as you continue to live out your beautiful mission of healing the world and grow your beautiful business, you can head to www.shehealstheworld.com/freebie to see what new resources I have in store for you. Thanks for listening. Tell a friend, and I can't wait to see you at the next episode.